The second chapter of Matsuri Akino's fantasy horror manga, Pet Shop of Horrors, introduces us to a story called Despair. One-hit wonder actor Robin Hendricks walks into Count D's pet shop in Chinatown once again after having been a loyal customer for years due to his love for reptiles. But this time, his desires are beyond that of a simple lizard or snake. He needs his heart fulfilled as he's a lonely man. And Count D gives him just that in the form of a rare basilisk known as Medusa. But there's more to Medusa than meets the eye, literally. She's a human-looking reptile, or at least that's how she's perceived by those she chooses, but of course, one must not lock eyes with her. After all, Count D sells love, hopes, and dreams, but at a high cost that cannot be measured with money. So today, we'll be exploring the twisted story of Robin Hendricks and his new pet, the Medusa, in this video. Before getting into the content, we'd like to make a very small request to our viewers. Please subscribe to our channel and like and comment on our videos, and press that bell icon to be notified whenever we upload new content. We'd be grateful to you, and we hope to bring you the best nerdy content in the future, so without further ado, let's get right into it. The premise: what we know about Robin Hendricks and why he goes to the pet shop. Robin Hendricks used to be a child actor, renowned for debuting as the alien crown prince in Space Wars 3. The film and his debut were super hits among the masses, especially due to his unabashed good looks were reminiscent of a prince. However, 10 years following the release, he's revealed to have died under mysterious circumstances. His body was found in his apartment and face down on the ground with no signs of life. Around him, there were no signs of struggle, and he had zero external damage from remnants of blunt force trauma, meaning that no one had attacked him. However, he did have 2 glasses of alcohol on the table alongside some cosmetics and jewelry, signifying that he had a female guest before his passing. While investigating the scene, Detective Leon Orcott spotted something strange underneath the cloth covering Robin Hendricks' body. On removing it, what was spotted was a lizard lying on the nape of Robin's neck, camouflaged with his platinum hair, dead and still like a stone. This led Orcott to Count D in Chinatown, who was known for selling exotic pets. In fact, Orcott had realized that a lot of recent unexplained deaths took place among the customers of Count D, making him a prime suspect. Once inside the pet shop, Orcott asked D to give him a lizard capable of producing a poison that can kill a man, considering he believed the poison killed Robin. Count D went on to reveal that Robin Hendricks was a loyal customer of his with a penchant for reptiles, to the point that he had already purchased 20 of them from the pet shop. This was followed by Orcott showing D the picture of the dead white lizard, taking D aback as he went on to exclaim how rare of a species it was. He wanted to bring her body back to the shop, to her family, clearly referring to the lizard as a female being with a human-like personality. Orcott returned to his police department following his chat with when the reports came in stating that Robin had died from a sudden heart attack. He wasn't poisoned, nor was the lizard poisonous. His autopsy showed no trauma or drugs. He had no rivals in the film industry, and the makeup that was lying around the room belonged to his estranged wife, who had an airtight alibi. They couldn't even accuse Count D's pet shop of violating the Washington Treaty, as the specific lizard species isn't listed anywhere. Plus, the police didn't have much authority over Chinatown. This didn't deter Orcott, due to all the mysterious deaths that Count D's customers had been experiencing over the last few years. Deaths where victims were mangled or had their blood drained, clearly showing that something he'd been selling in the pet shop was far from safe. Pushing too hard in Chinatown wasn't going to work, so Orcott was advised to pull back when necessary. Since Count D had a sweet tooth, Orcott now had the key to butter him up, and so he did. He revisited the pet shop and gifted Count D his favorite dessert, shocking as it was very hard to come by. Elated, he decided to aid the detective by answering his questions, but Count D was of the mind that Robin Hendricks was killed by a spirit. By this, he meant that even when Robin was alive, he was only a ghost of himself. After his iconic role as the Prince in Space Wars 3, he never got another good role. In fact, he was a one-hit wonder whose acting chops were bland compared to his beauty. Because the spirit of his role as a prince was so strong, he could never come out of it and was instead trapped in a false persona that people had projected upon him. 2 months before his death, Robin had visited the pet shop, not to buy pet food for his existing reptiles, but to get a new one. This time, something rare. Count D mentioned to him that he had promised his wife that he wouldn't get any more pets. He referred to her as Her Majesty, probably because he would refer to Robin as the Crown Prince for his role. Robin broke the unfortunate news. His wife had left him precisely due to his obsession with his reptilian pets. She would chide him for putting pet food in the refrigerator, be cuddled up with a snake or a lizard on the bed. She had had enough of Robin and shouted at him, living off of his past fame. In fact, she believed that he would be better off married to a reptile than her to leave him. This also meant that now Robin was free to keep his reptiles in his living and bedroom. Robin and his unusual reptile. Hearing this, Count D realized that Robin could now go for the big guns. He had a special pet in the store which happened to have come in not too long ago. He took Robin to a secret room where they were met with a beautiful woman in jewelry with a blindfold over her eyes. Robin thought it was a bad joke for Dee to offer him a woman not long after his wife had left him, but Dee asked him to look at her carefully as he lifted the bottom of her dress lightly, revealing reptilian scales. It wasn't a woman, but a lizard. It was a subspecies of basilisk, and an albino one at that, explaining its cold platinum gray scales. Known as the Medusa, it was one of the rarest to have ever lived. Robin thought he was dreaming when he offered him to touch her palm, complied, pressing it to his cheek. Cold, smooth skin could only belong to a reptile, not a warm-blooded human. This made Robin happy because this was exactly what he wanted. Dee also noticed how taken the lizard was by Robin, to the point that she even chose to go with him. Of course, a contract was signed, one that stated that he couldn't show her to anyone, he had to feed fresh fruit and live animals daily, or eyes under any circumstances. Any of the three terms being breached would mean that the shop would not take any responsibility for a mishap, and that was how Robin began to take care of the Medusa, with the two sharing a somewhat romantic relationship despite the difference in species. He would feed her and talk to her by himself, and she would not respond, not because she didn't want to, but because she was a lizard. But Robin was okay with that, as his point of comparison was his screaming, shouting, hysterical ex-wife who hated his love for his reptiles. He was more enamored by the fact that the lizard could not see, making her stand out among those who only liked Robin because of his looks. She wasn't a fan of the alien prince from the movie, she loved him for who he was, and most importantly, he needed his protection, not live without him. Soon after, Robin was visited by his manager, Albert, offering him an audition for a new movie. He would have to compete against no-name amateurs despite being famous, but it was his only chance, as not bagging this offer would mean that Robin and Albert would have to part ways. That would also mean that he wouldn't be able to keep his apartment or his reptiles. That second part took a huge toll on Robin, who couldn't bear the thought of parting with his beloved pets, especially the new albino womanly basilisk. For the sake of having money to keep the house, feed Medusa, and buy her jewelry, Robin went for the audition. He did well and made it to the final round too. He worked hard and people were surprised to see him still trying, considering many believed that he had retired. His management wanted the world to know that Robin Hendricks wasn't a one-hit wonder. Robin didn't mind the tech. His only purpose for the work was Medusa, but during this time he got his spirit back. He had to go up against the up-and-coming musical star Toby Heimer. Robin normally did not prefer competition, but for now, he enjoyed the rush of his beating heart. He felt alive. The gig was never going to be his due to the role going to a corporation-backed guy named Michael Pitt. Robin was then told that there would be a next time, but he had already given up. He believed he just didn't have the talent, went back home to Medusa. What is Medusa? The nature of the basilisk and the climax of the story. The species Medusa belonged to was used back in the day as weapons of assassination. She wasn't poisonous, but instead had magical ability. With her enchanting beauty and body, she'd lure people close to her, generally the opposing army of the country she was made to side with. Once close enough, she would remove her blindfold. Upon making eye contact with Medusa, people would turn to stone immediately. For this reason, it was an ironclad rule that Robin should not remove Medusa's blindfold as it would petrify. When he returned from the audition, he apologized to Medusa for not being able to protect her. He knew that he couldn't be with her for longer and blamed his rivals for it. He vented to claiming that he was always only halfway there. He wanted his rivals to disappear and wished for Medusa to use her powers to petrify them, provided it was true. Then again, this would mean others would see her not only be a breach of the contract, but also Robin didn't want anyone to see Medusa. She belonged to him and him only. As he said it, he hugged Medusa tight and she hugged back. He believed she was the only one he had left, which was kind of, so he arranged a dinner date, set up a table for two, and put lipstick on Medusa and aimed how beautiful she was. And then he took off her blindfold. Looking into her eyes, Robin was petrified. He fell to the floor, his life lost after looking into the eyes of the one he had. What happened next was beyond expectations. Medusa, too, was in love with Robin. On opening her eyes, the first thing she saw was the dead body of the man she had fallen for. To top that off, he died due to her eyes. Overcome by sorrow, she looked into the mirror of a nearby makeup kit. On locking eyes with her own reflection, Medusa succumbed to her own despair and took her own life, dying with her lover. During Robin's funeral, Dee pointed out how he ended up achieving his dreams. His early death meant that he had left a legacy on the industry instead of looked down on as a has-been. People commented on how he was so young, so full of talent, he could have achieved more. People even called him a genius. Dee then brought in a vial holding the crushed bones of Medusa to bury it beside Robin, as he believed two lovers should rest together. The inspiration behind Medusa, an ode to Greek mythology. It's probably no surprise that the Medusa in this story is directly inspired by the Medusa from Greek mythology, whose eyes turn people into stone. Both Medusas also boasted a reptilian nature, albeit in different ways. While the mythological Medusa had snakes for hair, the Pet Shop of Horrors version is a reptile or a lizard herself. There are certain key differences though, such as this Medusa being a rare species that exists naturally, although the average person has no knowledge of it. Meanwhile, the mythological version was originally a beautiful woman who was desecrated by Poseidon in Athena's temple, prompting Athena to curse her into becoming a gorgon-like monster who would turn anyone who looked at her into stone. Both Medusas met their end due to mirrored surfaces. In mythology, the hero Perseus used a mirrored shield to avoid looking at Medusa and beheaded her with his sword. Here, Medusa looked into her own reflection and turned herself into stone. After Medusa dies, however, she is immediately seen as an iguana-like lizard. She doesn't fall to the floor in her human-like form, and this falls in line with how the humanoid beings of Pet Shop of Horrors work in general. These are magical creatures, and they possess the supernatural ability of manifesting as whatever it is their customer truly desires. The only one who can see this manifestation other than the customers themselves is Count Dee, perceiving the creature the same way as his customer. For Robin, he loved reptiles too much, but this led to his wife leaving him. He definitely craved the presence of a woman without having to give up his beloved pets. As such, he saw Medusa as a beautiful woman, one who met both his needs, being a human lover and a reptile. To top that off, her being blindfolded meant that, like his fangirls, she would not love Robin for his looks. She didn't even speak, which was an upgrade for him as he struggled with his former wife fighting with him due to Robin turning their house into a reptilian paradise. Medusa was perfect for him. If he were to show her to anyone, turn back into her original form and his eyes immediately illusion or the magic would break. Whoever else saw her would perceive her as a lizard instead of a woman, which would cause Robin to start doing the same, and the purpose of him getting Medusa in the first place. This is why no customer can show their exotic pet to others, provided it's the type that operates on this type of magic, allowing it to take on the form of their customer's fantasies. For this reason, Count Dee's PR revolves around him saying that he sells dreams in his pet shop. Hence, when Orcott spots Medusa, he sees just a lizard. And the moment of her petrification takes place, both the manga and the anime show her on the floor as a lizard, not as a human girl lying above Robin's now petrified and dead body. Marvelous verdict! Despite being a horror fantasy, one can say that the story of Medusa and Robin is a romantic tragedy, quite obviously inspired by the likes of Romeo and Juliet, where both lovers kill themselves to avoid living in a world without the other. But Pet Shop of Horrors takes it up a notch by adding the supernatural factor to it. With that, today's video comes to an end. What did you think of the Medusa? Did you enjoy this video? If so, then don't forget to like and comment down below. Until next time, thanks for watching, stay safe out there, and have a marvelous day.